I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I ended up going into Star Wars Outlaws, I thought I would get a good game that might become a great game depending on the gameplay. I am a bit of a Star Wars fan, so obviously there was an appeal to me, but I was just expecting a generic Ubisoft game. Instead, what I got was a great game that, in my opinion, is incredible because it's Star Wars. Maybe not everyone's gonna feel the same way that I do, but if I can nerd it up for a little bit, ever since Disney took charge with Star Wars, it hasn't really been the same. Star Wars Outlaws feels like a classic Star Wars story. You've got plenty of aliens, not all of them speaking English, aka Galactic Basic, and characters are being killed off left and right. I won't spoil it, but there's a couple plot twists later on in the story that are delivered with such subtlety and restraint that I cannot help but applaud them. Most AAA games are very in your face about, hey, look at this. But this feels like a game created by Star Wars nerds for Star Wars fans. That said, it's still incredibly approachable. The main gameplay elements are going to end up being combat, which feels fantastic. It's got a lot of elements from Splinter Cell, so maybe I'm a little bit biased having the mark and execute ability. But something that I think is going to surprise a lot of people, it definitely surprised me, was how much stealth there is in this game. And it's not just the whole, oh, every enemy conveniently is looking in the opposite direction kind of stealth. This is you learning the layout, learning enemy patrols. It's not inherently difficult, because in most cases, if you end up getting caught, you do have a window where you can go loud and try to avoid alarms. But let me tell you, I was getting caught left and right, and I was killed a lot. It's not that this game is difficult, but it most certainly isn't a cakewalk like you would expect from a AAA game. In particular, you can get a wanted level in this game where the Empire starts tracking you down, and eventually it gets so bad that death troopers start coming at you. In most cases, they will annihilate you, and I'm all there for it. I will say, in the true form of a AAA game, there's a lot of lengthy animations you have to wait for, in particularly in the stealth sections. You gotta always wait for your character to knock enemies out, which the animation looks really good. It just feels a little too slow and stiff. The fact that we play as an outlaw rather than an overpowered Jedi is something that I really appreciated, because it means that you can come across difficult enemies that might be a joke to a Jedi. You got a couple different weapons you can swap to on the fly that have their advantages and disadvantages. Oh, and the space combat was also way more fleshed out than I thought. Think of Starfield, but the combat's good. The main story took me 15 hours only doing side quests that were required. I'm not gonna spend any more time on the story, but just trust me, this is one of the best stories in a video game. Each character is so incredibly well written, it's insane. One of the main mechanics of the game is that there's all these different gangs, aka syndicates, and you have to try and balance your reputation with them. In most cases, you can just end up doing a quest to get rep with one syndicate, but it might end up pissing off another. And sometimes you'll even get a choice to betray the syndicate that you're working for to help another one instead, because maybe you get paid more. Having a higher rep means that you can go into an enemy base without being shot at, and having a low rep might even close off some side quests for you. But there's also equipment in the game, and you'll get specific benefits by being high rep with certain gangs. It's not an RPG where you grind XP off of enemies per se, but you do still have loadouts for your character's armor. Something else that I wouldn't normally even bother talking about in a review like this. The accessibility options are probably some of the best I've seen in a video game. I'm not talking about the whole Last of Us, oh, a blind person can play this video game. I'm talking about the amount of settings you can tweak that will affect your gameplay. You can independently adjust every aspect of this game to your liking. Don't like the hacking mini game? Turn it off. Find the game too difficult? Lower enemy health bars. Maybe you're a stickler for the whole yellow spray paint on points of interest? Well, you can turn that off too. It really surprised me the amount of options that you have at your disposal. So overall, would I recommend Star Wars Outlaws? Yes, I would. You know it's good when I beat the main story and I want to keep playing. That does not happen often. But trust me when I say that playing the game feels completely different from watching it. The amount of effort and work that was put into this did not go unnoticed.